Hi, Hengist here from House of Hengist Comics, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at a number of things, including a narrative of a game called Mac the Knife. But first I really wanted to discuss where we're going and what we're doing. A big focus for the moment, inspired by Commando comics and the history of course, is on the war in the Atlantic. So we're going to be looking at submarine activities and Das Boat in particular, and obviously all the actions concerning this and surface scale, small scale actions that are often ignored. The Das Boat will obviously feature in a number of comics and videos as they come up, and we found this very interesting as a subject really to war game and to try and produce our history in miniature. Here's the Das Boat I've built recently, and we're quite inspired by the heroism that was conducted by both sides really in this campaign in very hostile conditions. We've tried to make as many ancillary units from midget subs to fishermen, sea mines and the like, and also base a lot of single man teams. We tend to use as much detail as we can on the models, but obviously give them playability, so to speak, so we don't do a lot of rigging. If you're interested in our work, I keep saying this, please subscribe and support us. It's really important. So just before we go into the game, I'd just like to talk for a moment about something else that's rather interesting. Ultimately, I thought this was going to be an expensive undertaking to build 15mm or 1/100th, 1/96 scale boats, and there are very few out there other than what Revel produces really, and some bespoke modelers. But what I realised is that with a bit of balsa wood and your bits box, you can actually generate this. And I've built a number of ships, you know, using everything from sort of yogurt cartons to bits that I've got lying around, sprues and whatever, to create these. And I'm really pleased with it. And so ultimately what I would like to say is that you can have a go at this type of thing, and it's entirely possible and pragmatic to do so. You just got to have a little bit of faith in yourself. The other thing is we tend to use a lot of single man teams as well, because our system is based on three core assets. I suppose the combat ability or its skill, the motivation, and also their reaction. And our system, although heavily inspired by a number of systems, notably Flames of War, is pretty different in that we use deck cards and other such things. So without further ado, I'd like to now narrate the game, and I will take us through relatively quickly because so much happened and I don't really want this to be a rather long and tedious video for you guys. But I hope again, as I've said, you'll continue to support us, and we love to hear from you. Thanks. Well, this battle is basically preset by the fact that 6 commandos left by Lieutenant Paget with Sergeant McAllister are due to go inbound and basically take out advanced positions, gun positions and all of that before the main force arrives by barges. So here we see the 6-man team rowing in. At the same point, a deck card is drawn and suddenly, immediately, there's an army inspection by a visiting general, which causes a few concerns to say the least. But the commandos manage to get in and basically quickly infiltrate and take out, Mac leading the way, the gun battery or the 20mm flak. They then turn about and head for the hill where they see the main target, which is the gun battery itself. Meanwhile, more reinforcements from the police units which are guarding the town arrive as well. As the commander arrives towards the barrier, a deck card comes up, which is normally used to take out sentries, but well played by the commander here of the... So instead of playing it on a sentry, he effectively basically plays it on the guy at the gate, and basically, obviously, we start to see a sub-story developing here, obviously, with the officers going to be none too impressed arriving to find that the garrison is in a state of unpreparedness, especially as this is going to be a submarine works. In the meantime, the commandos move forward and they're looking to basically take out the position on the hill, which has got sentries and all sorts of defences, including a lot of barbed wire, which will hamper them later. The searchlight also suddenly manifests itself, and they find themselves basically exposed in daylight effectively. small arms fire goes up to the beach to try and take it out, but they, for some reason, miraculous saves and all that, they continue. At the same point in time, another card appears which produces a fight in the bar between the Kriegsmarine and effectively the fisherman. This spills out into the street, so you can imagine the inspection of the general arriving to find his sentry on asleep and a massive bundle going out. The Kriegsmarine then turn round and effectively, basically in a drunken state, proceed to present ranks, and effectively following that are driven past. At the same point in time, the commandos then continue with an assault onto the bunkers itself as the German police begin to move forwards out with the fire and small arms. Then we get to see the arrival of the barges, which conceal 2 commando platoons, and an air attack by a night fighter, which is a Mosquito, but the Mosquito fails to range in. The bunker falls again to Mac basically and the lads, but one of the sentries escapes and runs to the German police. On arriving there, he basically calls for assistance and points out where the commandos are, and the Germans react quickly and swiftly. Overall, this seems to be an effective strategy by the commandos. They've overrun the bunker, put everyone to the sword, so to speak. But with the police arriving, they are then compelled to withdraw. However, as they try and fall back through the wire, several of them become trapped, just as the Germans try and push forward. And the general continues his inspection, which is not going too favourably for the small port authority. The U-boat crew continue to enjoy their festive drinks within the bar, and Tintin is there also to try and keep them entertained. Ultimately, the Germans press their attack. They attack with elan and effectively force the commandos to retreat, several of them becoming trapped on the wire, and they become prisoners. However, in the end, the commandos have basically managed to knock out the guns, the flak and all of that as the barges arrive, concealed within with the commandos themselves, the main platoons. What then transpires is another deck card produces a sea mine. Luckily, a reaction test is made, and the skipper in the night manages to effectively just avoid the sea mine. And that's where we leave it, ladies and gentlemen, right at the end with the main assault coming. This sort of intermission phase we use quite a lot, and whether we're going to air combat or sea combat, we tend to try and leave these phases ready to go for other games or within games, so to speak. Really enjoyed this one. It was great fun, and we've got a lot of testing done as a result of this, and look forward to so much more in the new year. I'd like to wish you all a very, very happy Christmas, and as the German police deploy with their support platoons, we're just waiting basically for bated breath as to whether the commandos can execute a proper landing and effectively knock out the port and the potential for the harbour to be used for submarines. So have a happy Christmas, enjoy yourself, do support us and subscribe, and my best wishes. Bye for now.